Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Math Puzzle Crash Course. Wanted to do just a really super quick video, a few minutes here. I just wanted to touch on some really silly posts and comments. A couple of these actually are good comments, but um, I've I've seen in a few forums now, especially ones where we've got a lot of international responses, and one of the ones that's come up a lot from the UK, and I'm not really familiar with O level and junior level, the different school levels there. I believe primary school is similar to elementary school, perhaps here in the US. Um, but one of the things I've been told is I've several people from the UK have tried to tell me, well, order of operations wasn't a thing in the curriculum till 1988, and then they send me a screenshot of a Quora post. And if anybody's familiar with Quora, it's just a place where people post comments or questions. These aren't coming from, necessarily anybody who's got any credentials or actually knows what they're saying, but yet people will screenshot that stuff and go, "Look, see, this proves that it didn't exist before 1988." And yet I know several mathematics teachers who are from the UK that I've, uh, chatted with online about some of the problems that we've seen, and of course, some of them were educated in the 60s and the 70s, and they're like, "Yeah, I mean, order of operations has been around for it has roots back to the 16th century, and basically it hasn't really changed in the last 100 years, and there's no textbooks, but, I think what happens is a lot of people forget what they were taught, and it's a lot easier to claim that, hey, they were never taught that, no one wants to say they forgot, but, I wanted to post this and show the screenshot that keeps getting shown to me. I've had 3 or 4 or 5 people show this to me as evidence that, wow, this is telling me that it wasn't introduced into the curriculum till 1988. That's completely bogus, by the way. Go look it up, go find some reputable sources, and stop posting this stuff. But, some really good people did respond, I mean, somebody no the problem is nobody ever reads the comments below the headline. The headline fits the agenda, so they copy and paste it. But, here somebody mentions that they studied O level back in 1972 and A level, I guess, in 1974, and BODMAS. BODMAS is typically the acronym used a lot in the UK for brackets, I believe orders, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. Now, it's a 6-letter acronym, but the order of operations used in the UK, it's the same thing as PEMDAS, which is a common acronym used in North America for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. And I also agree with this Michael Zorin, who's saying that these acronyms are actually really silly and unnecessary. I agree 100%. Their worst fault, and it's like he takes the words right out of my mouth. The worst fault is that they do not show you the why, which makes them useless as a learning tool. And I agree with that. So many people I see will look at these and think it's a 6-step checklist, and they think, well, BODMAS says division first, PEMDAS says multiplication first, and so he goes on to talk about how multiplication is, quote, stronger than addition, and it is, multiplication is repeated addition, and that's something that I've been saying a lot in all my videos. Understand the why. Don't just memorize an acronym. And so these two comments were golden, but very few will go down and actually see those. Now, this one I just thought was very interesting because this is coming from someone who's listing here they're a neuroscientist, bioinformatician, former physics professor. So this is somebody that should know what they're talking about, and they do. And they're mentioning the fact that PEMDAS and BODMAS are the same thing. They do exactly the same thing, but they're using different words. And that's true because if you understand what they represent, you know that multiplication and division have equal precedence. Division is just multiplicating, Division is just multiplication by a reciprocal. That's all that it is. So they have equal precedence. It doesn't matter that in PEMDAS or BODMAS one letter comes before the other. They have this. That's why the acronyms stink, because nobody understands them properly. And so she's explaining this. But sure enough, the way online forums work, there's always got to be a flame war. It doesn't matter if you're a neuroscientist, a former physics professor. No, Mr. John Q. Citizen or whoever knows much better than them. And the very first comment, the sad thing is that poor Anne had to stop commenting, had to turn comments off and disable them because of the ridiculous comments that came. And I'm sorry, Manette, but you should have researched this before you left this ignorant comment. You are wrong. PEMDAS says to multiply before divide. BODMAS says to divide before multiply. Give you two totally different answers. Totally a ridiculous. This is proof of why PEMDAS and BODMAS are terrible, because nobody understands them correctly. They think they're a checklist. And she didn't stop there. She made a comment further down where somebody was thanking Anne for her comment about, PEMDAS and BODMAS, and then Monette has to make that ignorant comment again. PEMDAS says to multiply before divide. BODMAS says to divide before multiply. Gives you two totally different answers. And this is what you run into a lot of times on the forums, and it gets frustrating. I admit it gets frustrating to me that when I try to explain the way math works, you always get the really insane comments from people who don't know what they're talking about, but they want to get that opinion out there. They think the louder the opinion, the more right they are, and it's a shame. But I just couldn't let this all go. It was kind of silly, but anyhow, I want to get back to doing some math puzzles and some real stuff. And I get the crazy comments here on the YouTube channel sometimes, and have to deal with those. So all I'm asking is that before you leave comments like that, at least Google something, look it up, find some reputable sources, and just don't leave comments like that. It's just, it really isn't good. So, and it's not helpful to people who really don't understand. That just, you're confusing people who don't really know. And you know what? I've had people online in forums, and they're asking me legitimate questions like, is 10 times 0 10? And I could just say, hey, you're stupid, go back to school. That would be really crude and rude and really terrible of me to do that. And I don't do that. I explain it and I say, no, I'm sorry, it's this. And they're like, oh, okay, thanks. I didn't really have that explained to me, or I forgot. People forget stuff, okay? Like, not everybody uses math every day. Some of us do, but it would be kind of good if people would just sort of calm down, answer the questions, and help people out. So, that's all I've got. So, please, if you like the Math Puzzle Crash Course and some of the puzzles I've got on there, please like, share, subscribe, if you would. I do appreciate it all. And thanks again, guys.